Hi, my name's Molly. I'm a designer with Cornerstone Remodeling. I'm here today with Kelly and Brian to talk about their first floor remodel. If you could tell us a little bit about why you decided to go ahead and do a first floor remodel.
Yeah, we decided to update some of our first floor, including the living room, whole first floor, painting, our powder room here on the floor, but really centered on the kitchen here because we knew we'd be spending a lot of time here. And before we moved in, we want to try and get as much done before we moved in as possible. So that's kind of where we took where this first floor looked like, opened it up a little bit, and really added the functionality.
So we saw a lot of potential in the floor plan for this home so that we could reconfigure some of the space to use it more functionally for our family. Adding a nice big island here in the kitchen, really a gathering place for us and our children and the guests that we want to have over. We added a beverage nook to just house any drinks for entertaining. We added a nice big pantry, which we'll show you in just a minute.
We got to also really focus on some things that were important to you, such as baking. We were able to add the KitchenAid accessory.
I think we wanted to do something that could appeal to beyond just our niche preferences. Something that was a little bit more timeless, but still wasn't a blank canvas, right? So we went with a lot of white, a lot of different shades of white, and really kind of open up the space here.
Sure.
But still had the ability to go with something a little bit more of a statement here on the island and having that kind of green tone come in. But having this wide open palette and a lot of the kind of gold finishes on there, I think really made us feel like an open space, but also coherent with all the colors that we chose.
Really warmed it up too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What were your main priorities or goals when remodeling the space?
Well, I think that we, like I mentioned, saw a great opportunity to reconfigure some spaces around our kitchen and around our living space. First and foremost, we were able to push a wall back to accommodate this nice large island as a gathering space. We actually also deleted a staircase. So our main staircase led downstairs and either to the front of the house or back into the kitchen. So we were able to reclaim that space and use it as additional storage to make our kitchen much larger and much more functional.
And one of the things we really wanted was to minimize things that are on the surface. So having a lot of storage up top, but also making best use of the storage underneath. So for example, putting things that we normally put out on top of the counter in drawers or pull-outs underneath. We did that as well here on the spice rack, having the ability to have our spices close by the stove. What we really tried to figure out was functionally, what did it make sense to put together, where could we do it, and there were tons of options. So being able to go through those options, iterate those options, and see what worked best for our layout, I think was a big part of our process that made us really enjoy the final product.
I think one of the most exciting things that we were able to do in reconfiguring the space was also to keep things out from view in the kitchen by adding a pantry that you can't see until you open the doors. So by coming in here, you can see that we're able to continue to store lots of items and we're able to functionally use them out of view.
We also love the ability to kind of customize a small space on here. We had originally thought, do we want a bunch of storage and cabinets all the way through? And this was another process where, going back and forth with designers like Molly and understanding what could fit in the space, what looked good in the space, having some options, how do we tie together, different elements throughout the kitchen. But having the ability to have like a small beverage fridge in here, still some open shelving, really felt like it wasn't just all cabinets that we were looking at.
We shared our Pinterest boards and our design ideas, and you really were able to distill them down so that we weren't going down a rabbit hole looking at different options for fixtures and different colors. Your experience in design coupled with our ideas and communicating clearly back and forth was totally key.
I think another important aspect of that is, we do a lot of upfront planning, but as soon as you start demoing walls, maybe things are not exactly what you thought they were behind the walls. So really that constant communication goes from design through the entire project. As things change a little bit and we adapt and we understand what the options are as we go through. And I think that's really important, especially of a remodel of this magnitude.
So I think we've mentioned a number of things that improve the functionality for our kitchen and living area. But one thing that we haven't mentioned is that we also were able to move a window. So there were 2 windows in the corner of our kitchen where the sink was also set. And so we were able to move those over and regain a lot of space, a lot of counter space, upper wall cabinets, adding to the functionality and storage within our kitchen.
Before we go, we're going to show you 2 other spaces that we touched on here. We've got the powder room. Any closing thoughts or advice for future remodelers?
My advice would be to, 1, go with your gut. If you have ideas, make sure that you voice them. We were able to do a lot of different things that we would not have necessarily known were possible without putting our heads together with your design team.
Yeah, and I think just having a company that can understand the whole life cycle, right? From design to under construction. When you're moving walls and you're talking about structural elements of construction, you want to make sure that everybody's under the same impression about the plan going forward. And I think that was great. And like Kelly had mentioned, having little samples of things to look at along the way made it easier for us when there are thousands of options for every aspect of the kitchen.
To help visualize.
Exactly. And that's a great point. Having the ability to visualize, whether that be through 3D models, renderings, kind of seeing the kitchen come to life before you even started, I think was huge for us. To understand, oh, that looks too tight. Oh, that's big enough. Oh, we can fit this here. I think that was a crucial part of the design process.
Great.
I think the use of mood boards was also instrumental in allowing us to make decisions and avoid decision fatigue when we were making so many different choices. So I think being able to look at all of those things together really was helpful in the design process.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you so much for watching today. Follow Cornerstone Remodeling for more.